we don't want to tire you, maybe 5 minutes or so, 10 minutes maximum. Talk about something which will benefit all of us, inshallah. One thing that when I was leading the prayer, I had noticed, because you can see from the back of the eye, right? Side of the eye. Some of them, especially in the first row, I couldn't see the second and the third row. I saw some of them were moving around. Now, when you start namaz and you have said takbiratul-ihram, you've said Allahu Akbar, this is where you have engaged into a conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there's a way and means of talking to Allah. Allah, the one who has created us all. Imagine when you are standing in front of your parents. Imagine when you're standing in front of your teacher. Imagine when you're standing in front of, let's say, a Maulana. Is standing in front of someone who's older than you. So you show respect to them. You talk to them nicely. You behave in front of them. And you don't turn your back away from them, right? That is against the etiquette and the etiquette that we've been taught, the morals that we've been taught, right? And therefore, when you are standing in this namaz and you're engaged in a conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you move around here and there, there are things that you're doing which contradict with that. That is something where you're not completely connected. And therefore, we need to make sure that once we say takbiratul-ihram, when we have said Allahu Akbar, until we say salam, we are completely engaged in this one-on-one conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So while you're paying attention to the words that are coming out of your mouth, things that you are reading, you got to make sure that you are also engaged. Secondly, when we perform namaz in jama'at like this, I've talked about the benefits of performing namaz in jama'at when we were at Pocono, so I'm not going to repeat that. But when we perform namaz in jama'at like this, there's a reason we're all standing in this way. So there's a leader in front who's called the imam. And then those who are behind this imam are called ma'moom. Those who are the followers. Place where imam stands is called mihrab. Obviously there's no mihrab over here, but I'm sure when you go to some masajid, you will see that there's a place sort of like where imam goes and stands in it, and everybody else is standing behind him. It's called mihrab. Mihrab comes from the word harb, which means war. So in war situations, if you can imagine, I'm sure you've seen in movies other places when wars are taking place, the one who's the flag bearer, the one who's in front of everyone, nobody goes ahead of him, right? They all stay back. They wait for his command, so he leads everyone else. Kind of like is the situation when imam is leading the prayer. Therefore, you should not perform anything before the imam. You should not do anything before imam performs it. You should not go into ruku before imam goes into the ruku. You should not raise your head back from ruku before imam raises it back from ruku. You should not go into sajda before imam goes into sajda. All of those things should be happening in the sequence where imam does it, and then you are the followers. So you should not exceed, or you should not supersede him before he performs his actions. I really very quickly want to talk about a very beautiful hadith. Hadith is known as what? The narrations or the tradition from either our Prophet, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, or our imams. It's a very beneficial hadith, so I'm sure everybody will be able to take some share from it. So pay very close attention to it. It has 4 segments to it, and I'll go through the translation and I'll end with that, okay? It says, Mal wajib wa mal awjab. There's one thing which is called wajib. Does everybody over here know what is wajib? Wajib, for example, what is a wajib? Give me an example. Namaz. Because namaz is what? Wajib. When you get to a certain age, it becomes what? Wajib. It's called an obligation. So there's something which is wajib, and then there's something which is awjab. So for example, you have something which is an obligation, which is something that you must perform. But then there's something else which a Prophet is saying, which is beyond this wajib. That means it is more important than that. He says, mal wajib wa mal awjab. He says, wajib ta'atullah wa awjab tarkul haram. Wajib is that you obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And awjab, more important than that is, what could be more important than that? More important than that is tarkul haram. You stay away from that which is haram and forbidden for you. So over here we understand wajib upon is to obey Allah. More than that is to stay away from haram. So that's one. Second, it says wamal qareeb wamal aqrab. There's something which is close to you, and there's another thing which is more close. So sometimes, he's closer to me, but this thing is closer to me, or this thing is close to me, but my clothes are closer to me. My clothes are close to me. But for example, my veins and other things, my heart and everything else is much more closer, right? So this is how you look in this way. He says, Yawmul Qiyamah is close. The day of judgment is very close. He says, Wal Maut Aqrab, but death is closer than that. So Yawmul Qiyamah, the day of judgment, is very, very near. You should not think, oh, the day of judgment will come, we'll see it that day. No, it's very close. But Maut comes before that, death comes before that, that is even closer. وَمَا هُوَ الْعَجِيبُ وَمَا هُوَ الْأَعْجَبُ. There are two things, ajib and a'jab. Ajib is that which is surprising. You see it, you become astonished by looking at it, by hearing about it. So you hear about something, some incident, you said, really? Something that is a matter of surprise for you, right? So there's an action which is matter of surprise, and there's an action which is beyond that. It says, dunya, this world is ajib. It's surprising. With everything that is in it, it is surprising to you. But hubbud dunya a'jab. But the love for this world is beyond that. Maybe some of you might not be understanding that, the younger ones, but if you ask your elders things that I'm saying, keep them in your mind, and they will explain it to you what it means. Lastly, it says, وَمَا الصَّعْبُ وَمَا الْأَصْعَبُ. What is hard or difficult, and what is more than that or more difficult? It says, قَبْرٌ صَعْبٌ. The place where we are buried is very, very hard or difficult. Imagine, qabr, I'm sure some of you have visited the graveyards and you've seen it. It's very difficult. But it says, أَصْعَبُ مِنْهُ, more difficult than that, ذِهَابٌ بِلَا زَادٍ, leaving this world without anything with you. What does that mean? That means when you come to school, imagine you came to school without your school bag. You came to school without your books. Imagine you came to school without your pen or paper or pencils or whatever. That means you're not going to be able to do much over here. You'll have to borrow from others. But when you go towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, make sure that you have brought those things which will be accepted over there. Among those things which will be accepted over there is this namaz. Among those things that will be accepted over there is how you dealt with your elders. Among the things that you will be asked over there is how you dealt with your parents. Among the things that you will be asked over there, how you treated those who were your neighbors and those who were elderly to you. All of those things will be asked by you, and you will be questioned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Were you giving your parents a hard time? You know, a lot of time when we are speaking to our parents, they're getting old, right? So a lot of times they don't understand our language or the way we talk, or some of the things that we have, the gadgets that we have these days. You try to show it to your father, he might not understand it, or your mother, they might not understand it. Right away, we become annoyed. We say, oh, how come you don't understand? How come you can't grasp that? We become annoyed. Quran says in chapter number 17. It says, chapter number 17 is Surah Bani Israel, or known as Surah Isra. In that chapter, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that when you are dealing with your parents, وَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفٍّ. When you're dealing with your parents, do not utter the word uff that we usually, bring on our tongues out of annoyance. Oh, why don't you understand? Oh, why can't you do this? Oh, the expressions that come out. Allah in Quran is ordering us, وَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفٍّ. Do not even utter the word uff out of annoyance towards your parents. If there was a word smaller than that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would have used that. But say, even this word which probably has, one syllable and two alphabets in it, two letters in it, even don't utter that word out of annoyance. They might not understand something that you're saying, but you should not reply back with, oh, why can't you understand? Oh, I'm so sick and tired. Oh, this and all that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, do not even utter that word towards them. وَلَا تَنْهَرْهُمَا بَلْ قُلْ لَهُمَا قَوْلًا كَرِيمًا. Speak to them gently, softly. Why? We just perform what is known as ibadat, right? Namaz is what? Ibadat. Everybody, what is namaz? Ibadat. What is ibadat? What is ibadat in English? Worship, right? We just worship Allah, right? Namaz is an ibadah. It says in a hadith from our Prophet, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, whoever looks at the face of their parents with love and with mercy and with compassion has indeed performed ibadat, has indeed performed a worship. When you're just looking at your parents with love and mercy and compassion, without doing anything else, without prostrating, standing up, sitting down, anything, just looking at them with love and with compassion, that is counted as among the ibadat on your account. I will stop over here. If you guys have any questions, the little ones right here, I'll take them, because I don't really know how long should I go for, but don't want to bore you guys either, because I'm sure all of you are hungry. So if you have any questions, go ahead. One at a time, shoot at me, and I'll try and answer. Yes? Yes. Yeah, so rain is considered to be nuzulul ghayb. It is among the rahmat and the mercies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Unfortunately, when it rains, we say, oh, such a bad day. Can't do anything outside. We feel that way, right? But it's a ni'mat, it's a rahmat and the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So many people benefit from this rain. So therefore, when this rahmat and mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is being sent down, when you make dua alongside with this mercy and rahmat, your dua is also accepted. Anything else? Back there?
After the food.
Inshallah. Alright. With a loud salawat, alright?